My phone buzzed at exactly 8:45 p.m. It was a text from my mother. "We are at Le Petit Chateau for our 30th anniversary. Come join us." I was honestly stunned. My parents had barely spoken to me all year since I refused to fund my older brother's fourth business venture. Feeling a tiny spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, they actually wanted to mend fences and include me in their milestone, I dropped everything. I threw on a nice dress, grabbed an expensive bottle of wine, and rushed downtown. But when I walked into the private dining room, there was no celebration waiting for me. There were just empty plates, half-empty wine glasses, and my smug brother picking his teeth. My mom didn't even stand up to hug me. She just slid a black leather checkbook across the table and sneered, "You're late. Pay the bill." Welcome back to BT Revenge Tales, where the drama is real, the tea is piping hot, and the payback is oh so sweet. If you love a good story of setting boundaries and standing up to entitled people, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's get right back into the story. My name is Chloe, I'm 29 years old, and I am the undisputed black sheep of my family. I've spent my entire adult life building a stable career, budgeting carefully, and making smart financial decisions. Meanwhile, my 32-year-old brother, Julian, can do no wrong in my parents' eyes, despite needing constant bailouts. So when that text arrived, a part of me desperately wanted to believe they were reaching out of love, not leverage. The atmosphere inside Le Petit Chateau was pure, unadulterated luxury, soft violin music playing overhead, dimly lit crystal chandeliers, and white tablecloths so pristine they looked untouched. But as the host led me toward the private dining area at the back, the illusion vanished instantly. The scene waiting for me was pure chaos. The table was littered with greasy, leftover bones, crumpled napkins, and 3 completely empty wine bottles. My brother Julian was slouched back in his chair, swirling a glass of high-end, single malt scotch that I knew cost at least $40 a pour. My father didn't even bother to look up from his phone when I walked in. My mother was leisurely applying a fresh coat of lipstick, perfectly unbothered by the fact that they had devoured a 4-course meal entirely without me. There was no spare chair set out, no menu waiting, and certainly no warm greeting. They hadn't invited me to join a celebration. They had summoned me to clean up after them. The absolute disrespect hung heavy in the air, heavy enough to make my stomach turn. I realized right then that I wasn't an invited guest. I was just an unpaid ATM with a driver's license. I stood frozen beside the table, staring at the black leather checkbook sitting between my mother's polished nails and a basket of stale bread crusts. Slowly, I reached down and flipped it open. My heart didn't even race. It just turned to ice. The itemized total at the bottom was a staggering $847.50 before tip. They had gone all out. Dry-aged Wagyu ribeyes, appetizers of imported caviar, 2 bottles of vintage Bordeaux, and Julian's top-shelf scotch. Since you couldn't be bothered to bring us a proper 30th anniversary gift, taking care of the check is the absolute least you can do for your parents, my mother declared smoothly, dabbing her mouth with a napkin. Family supports each other, Chloe. Julian smirked, swirling his $40 drink and leaning back in his chair like a king on a throne.
Yes, sis. Come on.
You're the big, successful corporate accountant with no kids and a high-rise apartment. A few $100 is nothing to you, but it means everything to mom and dad. Don't be selfish for once in your life. The sheer audacity was breathtaking. They hadn't saved me a single bite, yet expected me to finance their feast. In that exact second, something fundamental shifted inside me. The years of quiet resentment, the endless guilt trips, and the desperate, foolish desire to buy my family's affection simply evaporated. I didn't yell. I didn't throw a scene, flip the table, or let a single tear slip out to give them the satisfaction of knowing they had hurt me. Instead, a cold, absolute calm washed over my mind. I looked down at the receipt, closed the leather booklet with a gentle click, and forced a soft, perfectly pleasant smile onto my face. "You know what? You're completely right," I said, keeping my tone smooth, light, and entirely harmless. "It really is the least I can do for your special night. Let me just run to the ladies' room to freshen up after the long drive downtown, and then I'll take care of the entire thing." Julian's smug grin widened, satisfied that he'd won yet again, while my mother gave a approving nod, already reaching for her designer purse. I picked up my bag, turned on my heel, and walked away from the table, every step steady and deliberate. I was done being used. I didn't turn toward the restrooms at the back of the restaurant. Instead, I walked straight past the marble archway and headed directly to the front hostess stand where the head waiter was organizing reservation cards. I leaned over the wooden counter, keeping my voice smooth, polite, and entirely matter-of-fact. "Excuse my interruption," I said, offering a warm smile. "The party in the back private room at table 12 is completely finished and ready to settle up the check. I have to head home early tonight, but the older gentleman in the navy blue suit sitting at the head of the table will be taking care of the entire bill." The waiter nodded politely. "Of course, ma'am. Thank you for letting us know." "Have a wonderful evening," I added, pushing open the heavy glass doors of Le Petit Chateau and stepping into the cool night air. A wave of pure, unfiltered adrenaline hit my chest as I walked down the stone steps. I didn't rush. I didn't look back. I simply walked to my car, slid into the driver's seat, pulled out into the evening traffic, and drove away, leaving them sitting at their empty table, completely oblivious to what was coming. I was halfway down the highway, cruise control set and music playing softly, when my phone on the dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. First, it was 3 missed calls from my mother in rapid succession. Then my brother Julian started blowing up my line. When I didn't pick up, the text messages started flooding in, each one more frantic and hostile than the last. "Where are you?" The waiter came with the bill. "Chloe, this isn't funny. Dad's card got declined. You are a pathological psychopath. Come back and pay this now." I pulled off at a red light, listened to a voicemail from my mother where her voice was literally cracking with embarrassment as she hissed about how they were being humiliated in front of the entire restaurant staff. Apparently, my father's primary credit card was maxed out and Julian's debit card was rejected instantly. I didn't panic. I just smiled, typed out a single reply to Julian, and hit send. "I guess your new business venture will have to wait. Happy anniversary to Mom and Dad." Then I muted their notifications for the night. The fallout was immediate and permanent. My parents ultimately had to burn through Julian's personal savings and take a chunk out of his next monthly allowance just to cover that single, monstrous dinner bill. That financial strain created a massive rift between the golden child and my parents, exposing the cracks they had spent years trying to hide. As for me, I finally drew a hard, unbreakable line. I stopped taking their emergency calls, stopped sending holiday money, and completely reclaimed my peace of mind. True freedom isn't about throwing the biggest punch or throwing a loud public tantrum. It's about refusing to play a game that was rigged against you from the very start. Standing up for yourself might make you the villain in a toxic family story, but it makes you the absolute hero of your own. Take care, and I'll see you in the next story.